In the same decade, two companies made almost identical promises: premium electric vehicles, revolutionary design, zero emissions. But one decision separated them. Tesla Motors invested in control. Fisker Automotive invested in efficiency. Tesla built factories. Tesla designed its own battery packs. Tesla wrote its own software. Fisker signed contracts. One approach created a market capitalization measured in hundreds of billions of dollars. The other ended in bankruptcy within months. This is not a story about vision. Both companies had vision. This is a story about infrastructure, about who owned the systems required to turn vision into reality. So why did one survive while the other collapsed? Henrik Fisker founded Fisker Automotive in 2007. Elon Musk joined Tesla Motors as chairman and lead investor in 2003. By 2008, the two companies had similar roadmaps. Start with a luxury product. Use those margins to fund mass production. Make electric vehicles desirable, not just responsible. The 2008 financial crisis created an opening. Oil prices spiked. Consumers began to reconsider their fuel dependency. Governments offered subsidies. The Obama administration launched a loan program through the Department of Energy. Tesla received $465 million. Fisker received $529 million. Both companies targeted the same customer. They were wealthy early adopters willing to pay over $100,000 for a statement vehicle. Both companies promised range, performance, and status. The capital was in place. The market existed. The timelines aligned. Ambition was not what separated them. It was architecture. Fisker Automotive was built on contracts, not capabilities. The battery system came from A123 Systems, a supplier with its own investors, timeline, and risk profile. Manufacturing occurred at Valmet Automotive in Finland. They contracted externally for the powertrain, software, and thermal management. From an investor's perspective, this seemed rational. Lower capital expenditure. It also allowed for faster time to market. There was also reduced balance sheet exposure. Fisker could focus on design and branding while specialists handled production. This is how consumer electronics companies operate. They design in California and manufacture in Asia. Apple does not own Foxconn. The business case made sense on paper. It avoided the capital intensity that had bankrupted previous automotive startups. The DeLorean Motor Company failed when it tried to build its own factory. The Tucker Corporation collapsed under manufacturing costs. Preston Tucker spent $40 million in 1940s currency before producing 51 vehicles. The lesson seemed clear: outsource production and control design. Financial models showed attractive returns. For example, if Fisker sold 10,000 vehicles annually at $100,000 each, it would generate $1 billion in revenue. With contract manufacturing, gross margins could reach 30%. However, marketing and overhead costs could consume another 20%. This would leave 10% net margins and $100 million in annual profit. On $200 million of invested capital, that would represent a 50% annual return. Of course, this model assumes that vehicles will sell as planned. It also assumed that suppliers would deliver as contracted. It also assumed that no fundamental technical problems would emerge. These assumptions were not unreasonable. However, they were insufficient. However, automobiles are not smartphones. They are systems in which battery chemistry affects thermal loads. Thermal loads affect range predictions. Range predictions affect customer satisfaction, and customer satisfaction affects warranty claims. When a defect emerges, the manufacturer often lacks the technical authority to fix it. They must negotiate with suppliers who may not prioritize the fix or lack the capacity to implement it quickly. The Fisker Karma was launched in 2011. Within months, battery defects began to appear. Fires, failures. A123 Systems, which was already in financial distress, could not resolve the issues quickly enough. Fisker lacked internal engineers who understood cell chemistry or pack design. They could not iterate. They could not patch things up. They waited. In October 2012, A123 Systems filed for bankruptcy. Fisker lost its battery supplier mid-production. There was no alternative at the required scale or specification. The company had to recall the vehicles it had already sold. The Department of Energy froze the remaining loan disbursements. Fisker burned through its cash reserves while being unable to produce new units or repair defective ones. Its asset-light status became a capability zero status. Tesla Motors took the opposite approach. It purchased the NUMMI factory in Fremont, California for $42 million, a facility General Motors and Toyota had abandoned. This was not a small expense for a startup. It was a massive fixed cost with no guarantee of profitability. Tesla also chose to design its own battery packs. Not the cells themselves, those came from Panasonic, but the architecture that turned thousands of cells into a system. The cooling, the monitoring, the software that managed charge and discharge. Tesla hired engineers who understood electrochemistry. It built labs to test failure modes. The company wrote its own vehicle software, the interface, the power management, the over-the-air update system. Competitors outsourced this to Tier 1 suppliers. Tesla treated the car as a platform that could be improved after sale. Tesla also invested in manufacturing tooling and automation, stamping presses, welding robots, paint systems, equipment that represented hundreds of millions in capital expenditure with no guaranteed return. Traditional automotive finance models suggested leasing this equipment or partnering with established manufacturers. Tesla bought it. The rationale was simple but costly. Ownership meant faster iteration. If a body panel design needed to be modified, Tesla engineers could adjust the stamping die overnight. If the painting process caused quality issues, they could reprogram the robots. In contrast, contract manufacturers operate on negotiated change orders with timelines measured in quarters. Tesla's internal capabilities operate on decisions measured in days. This created a different kind of risk: capital intensity, operational complexity. There was also slower time to market. Tesla nearly went bankrupt in 2008. The company nearly went bankrupt again in 2013. Every dollar spent on infrastructure was a dollar unavailable for marketing or working capital. However, this also meant that when problems arose, Tesla could solve them. For example, when the Model S had a battery fire, Tesla did not wait for a supplier. Instead, it updated the software to raise the suspension at highway speeds. The company also reinforced the battery shield. Tesla deployed the fix remotely. The supercharger network was built using the same logic. There was no charging infrastructure. Tesla could have waited for governments or third parties to build it. Instead, Tesla spent hundreds of millions of dollars to create its own proprietary network. While this increased costs, it guaranteed that customers could use the vehicle for long-distance travel. It also removed dependency on external actors. Every dollar Tesla invested in vertical integration was an option purchased. Options to iterate, to fix, and to adapt. These options compounded over time. When both companies faced delays and defects, their different structures became apparent. Tesla adjusted pricing to manage cash flow. The company pushed software updates to address customer complaints about range accuracy and user interface issues. Tesla also modified production processes in the Fremont factory without needing approval from a contract manufacturer halfway around the world. Fisker had no equivalent levers. When the battery supplier failed, there was no backup plan. When customers reported software bugs, Fisker lacked the engineers needed to access the code. When production needed to increase, Valmet set the schedule. Fisker controlled the brand. However, it did not control the product. The financial consequences were severe. Each recalled vehicle represented not just the cost of the repair, but also the erosion of customer confidence. Reservation holders canceled their orders. Dealerships that had committed to selling the Karma reconsidered their agreements. The luxury automotive market is concentrated. Reputation travels quickly among high-net-worth buyers. A single defect can undo years of brand-building efforts. Fisker attempted to raise additional capital. However, investors had watched the company lose control of its own product. The pitch deck showed beautiful renderings and satisfied customers. However, it could not demonstrate the engineering team that would prevent the next crisis. Without vertical capabilities, the company had nothing to offer but hope. Hope does not command premium valuations. By 2013, Fisker had sold fewer than 2,000 vehicles. The company laid off most of its staff. The company defaulted on its Department of Energy loan. The company filed for bankruptcy in November of that year. During the same period, Tesla began scaling the Model S and reached profitability in the first quarter of 2013. Tesla repaid the Department of Energy loan 9 years early. Its stock price, which had traded below $6 in 2010, surpassed $100 by 2013. One company built a system. The other company purchased services. In a crisis, services disappear. Systems persist. This pattern is not unique to electric vehicles. Toyota survived while larger American manufacturers struggled because it built production systems that identified and resolved problems quickly. BMW maintained pricing power as Alfa Romeo cycled through ownership because BMW controlled its engineering and manufacturing. Industries do not reward ideas. They reward execution infrastructure. A company with a mediocre product and strong operational control will outlast a company with a superior product and weak control. This is not a moral judgment. It is a structural reality. Tesla kept building. In 2017, it launched the Model 3. Production was chaotic. The company called it production hell. But because Tesla owned its factory and supply chain, it could iterate daily. Within a year, it reached a production rate of 5,000 vehicles per week. Every Tesla on the road generated data: battery performance, driving behavior, failure modes. That data fed directly back into design, software updates, and cost predictions. Competitors who outsourced could not access the same learning loop. Manufacturing became a laboratory. Tesla tested new battery chemistries in small batches, measured performance in real conditions, and scaled what worked. Each improvement reduced costs while improving quality. Fisker tried again with the same model. The result was the same. Vehicles were produced, but the capability to solve problems was not. Vision does not manufacture vehicles. Design does not debug software. Capital efficiency does not create resilience. Resilience comes from the ability to respond when assumptions fail. That ability is not purchased, it is built. History does not reward those who are right. It rewards those who can execute being right. If this analysis was useful, consider subscribing. More breakdowns of industrial strategy are coming.